So it's pretty cool. I mean, like,
Yeah, it's
that,
it's amazing how much this stuff all ties together and stuff. It's just it's a matter of I think we're on the right track as far as going by the different alien races goes.
hmm
Um, and then we give people an overview of what the races are, basic overview of what the races are, where they where how they are thought to have came about, and then that makes it accessible to a beginner, somebody who don't know anything about it. And then from there we gradually get more detailed and we go through each civilization that talks about them, or at least appears to talk about them, and how that ties together.
Now that reminds me. Did you have anything concerning the Naga?
I saw a little bit about the Naga when I was reading up on the Ostras, but I didn't have a chance to read it yet.
Okay.
So that's going to be another thing I'm going to touch on.
All right. I just wanted to double check to see if you had any notes available that you wanted to share yet. So
The ancient Naga were mentioned when I was reading about the Ostras, but I didn't have a chance to get to that before I got on here.
okay.
I need some way by which I can get on and read through my research, like while I'm here on Jitsi or what have you, because then I would be able to keep going.
Yeah.
So what when I did those 2 recordings I did just now, I was like reading off a notepad that I wrote on from my research before I got it here on Jitsi.
Well, with most of it is what I have to go through. I have to. I've already started on the entranceways, and I've got to kind of discuss Mount Shasta in California.
Yep.
And then there is. Well, I've actually started working on the mountains in the Himalayas in Tibet. I was discussing it a little bit in chat earlier about some of the deities and stuff with the Tibetan yogas and what they believed in and stuff like that. So I've gotten a start on that stuff, and then with the Nagas, I learned about a couple of the kings of the Nagas. One was supposed to be a ornament worn around Shiva's neck, and then his older brother was actually supposed to be the bed that Vishnu rested on.
Okay.
So it's kind of cool stuff like that I've been getting into. So I have been covering that part. So if you want,
yeah, we could put all of the stuff where we talk about the Hindu texts in ancient India into an episode, especially
just
where they talk about that and how it relates to this, and then I could do a deep dive into Egypt, how they do it, and all that too as I go forward.
Yeah. And the thing that stuck out to me is I was talking to bobdub and asked her to ask Otto some questions, and she said that there's, especially the part that I'm discussing, the actual Buddhists don't recognize it as real Buddhism.
What's that?
The topics that I'm talking about, they don't recognize it as real Buddhism. Like it's an offshoot of Buddhism.
Oh, okay.
Which I do find that kind of interesting. Because
yeah, that's weird that they don't consider it to be such.
Well,
I didn't know that.
The tantric.
Is Buddhism like other religions where there's several different sects with several different beliefs?
Right.
Or is there just a singular? Is there just a singular sort of ideology there, or is it just always the separations?
The weirdest part that I've found was that Hinduism and Buddhism actually, they're married into one another. They're interchangeable. Like Vishnu, for example, okay, or Hare Krishna. Now that's tantric beliefs, And I guess there's the school that Otto's a part of doesn't believe in the tantras, you know what I mean, like the sex freaking tantrics and all that. They don't believe in all that stuff. So it's really interesting. And I told bobdub today, I was like, you know, we need to really talk with Otto and kind of just do some kind of a video series just on that, because I find that or maybe even a video on Into the Abyss, you know what I mean, find out why they disagree with that.
Funny enough, Otto subscribed to my YouTube, my Minds channel just an hour ago.
I'm telling you, man, he freaking he's really cool dude to talk to too. Like I don't think he would actually be doing the alien stuff like we're doing right here, you know what I mean? But the stuff that we're talking about when it comes to Hinduism and Buddhism and like the spiritual aspects of all that stuff, man, he's really into all that.
I think where Hinduism and Buddhism relate to each other is that, you know, in the Hindu belief, they believe in reincarnation until you reach enlightenment, and then of course Buddha was one of that was a story of somebody who actually did reach enlightenment and then broke that cycle of reincarnation. I think that's more or less how it was. It was an offshoot. Buddhism was an offshoot from Hinduism in that respect, as in the same way that Judaism was kind of an offshoot, or Christianity is an offshoot of Judaism, because you had Jesus, who was living during the times of the Jews, and then it was it was very similar in the way that the religions were offshoots from each other.
Now, see, what I also heard was with Buddha. Well, Mark just now alluded to that too, about the caste systems. Okay, like the in Hinduism, you obeyed the caste system. You knew your place, and that was where you were, and you didn't progress any higher. Now, Buddha. The actual Buddha revolted against that with the concept that we don't have to have these caste systems in order to progress to enlightenment, or we don't have to have this position in life, you know what I mean? So you've got that going on. Huh?
That was where Hinduism began to shoot off into Buddhism and become.
No, the other way around. Buddhism shot off into.
Yeah. I mean, that's where Hinduism began to morph into Buddhism, and then away from the caste system in India.
Mm-hmm. And it got pretty interesting. There's so much stuff on there that I'd like to find out too. Like, I found out that people in India don't believe that they were invaded from the north, according to the Vishnu, I believe. What is that again? The old texts that talk about that, where about the invasion.
Oh, what I was referring to?
No, it was in India, just in India. Invaders from the north invaded India, and it was mentioned in it was the Hindu texts, right? Was it in the Vedic? Yeah, the Vedas.
Text?
The Vedas. Yeah, it was in the Vedas.
It was in the Vedas. Okay.
Yeah, it was in the Vedas. So, and there's people there in India right now who just don't believe that happened. They said that's not the way it happened. That Hinduism and Buddhism just developed in India on its own naturally, and there was no influence from outside of the country. Which there's pure evidence that shows that it migrated down from Afghanistan and the steppes of in the Russian steppes into India. You know what I mean? Because you had
so how could they believe that it didn't?
Yeah. They're just nationalists, and they're fighting against the idea that an outside influence gave them something that they didn't have naturally.
Even though they're connected to all those other lands.
Right. And like Kashmir, dude. Kashmir is like one of the holiest areas in that region. You know?
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? You think we got a good thing going on this subject?
You've got a lot of ground to cover. Yeah.
You should try to record he should try to do recording of Mark if he's got anything to say on it.
Well, Mark.
That's up to you two.
Mark
want to do that.
Mark's a hard ass. You got to really work on Mark to get him to do stuff like this. Like, freaking, he really doesn't like do stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's more into the tech stuff and things of that nature. But like, I was really proud of him.
I do speak about theology occasionally.
Well, theology would be cool. Yeah, if you want to talk. Well, I just don't really want to get you started on it because I have a feeling that you'll open up like a whole can of whoop ass on us. Because
one of my weakest subjects, I suppose, to be fair.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear frickin' all of a sudden this huge Mark Edworthy explosion that I've never seen a day in my life. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, what's happening here?
One day I might surprise you.
Well, you have surprised me. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was really impressed with the Shakespeare thing. Like, you came into the Shakespeare episodes with me and bobdub. That was pretty cool. And then like I was torturing this man. I'd make him actually sit and listen to me talk about Shakespeare when neither him or Tam wanted to listen to it. And they did it though. You guys put up with me.
Yeah, but on that last talk when I came in, I was talking more looking at it from a British perspective, obviously Shakespeare, but also looking at it from more of a sort of modern day cultural influence sort of concept.
Well, being from England too is a big help because like influence, I mean, you know, Shakespeare was a big influence on England. More than anybody else. That's where it started, you know what I mean? So that was a big deal. That really was. And I personally Tolstoy, I just cannot stand the dude. I've tried to read his stuff and I just cannot stand him, dude. There's just something about that guy that freaking tells you want to punch him in the face. You know, I mean, I hate saying it, you know, like, they're all talking about how he freaking gave his wealth up and everything like that and how great he was, but then they don't want to mention the fact that he got resentful about it after he did it because freaking things weren't as great as what he thought it was to be poor, you know what I mean? So he turned into an asshole.
Yeah, because being poor is such a walk in the park. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, so I don't know. And you can just pick up on that when you try to read that stuff because he's Tolstoy. And like, and I was wrong too about I always thought he was communist, but he was like the beginnings before communism. You know what I mean? Like, he actually did believe in religion, which the communists didn't believe in religious doctrines.
Again, it goes back to my point of Christian-based anarchist.
Well, even with anarchists, though, like